Season 2, Episode 3. I don't have a lot to say about this episode, so this is probably going to be a short review. I'm just going to start at the end. Alicent and Rhaenyra finally having that conversation about the last moments with King Viserys. I believe that's his name. Alicent tells Rhaenyra pretty much her father's exact last words, and Rhaenyra realizes that her father in his last moments was talking about something from the Song of Ice and Fire. Was talking about Aegon the Conqueror and not Aegon the Prince or his son at the time. I feel like that moment could have been acted a little better. They just seemed to confuse the tone and what that scene was going for. Like in particular, Alicent's face doesn't match the emotion and the tone of when she says the Conqueror. Like, it's not like the Conqueror. Like, you mean to say that he was talking about the Conqueror? It's more almost as if she's not making the connection. Her face isn't matching the connection of her brain or something like that. But it took me a minute to realize where the tone was supposed to be and where it was actually at. But after that scene of them having that conversation, it's more now the ball's strictly in Alicent's court, and anything that happens from this point moving forward could be seen as Alicent's fault. Something that didn't start as purposeful is now moved too far to go back. There's been a lot that's happened. Not only has a lot happened, but a lot of unforgivable, unfixable mistakes. A lot of that has happened. Even if the war or this fight started over the king's last words being misinterpreted, it's gone too far. In the beginning, Rhaenys tells Rhaena, I believe I got that right. Pretty soon, people are going to forget what the war even started over. You see Rhaenyra's side, you see Alicent's side. They're having beef over territory. And by the end of that scene, it ends in a battle that we don't get to see, which is one thing I did want to mention about House of Dragon is if you're watching House of Dragon hoping to get a few battle scenes, a few fight scenes, you may be more disappointed than you are gratified. I'm not necessarily looking for a battle or a fight scene every single episode, but the setup and build up for that one in particular it's so wide that it takes it too far to where it's like, okay, no, I need to know how we got here, because it starts off with like 4-on-4 and ends up with an entire acre, if not more, filled with dead bodies. Apparently, a small battle is taking place. So I probably could have gone for a little more in the beginning of the episode, but other than that, this is another solid episode of House of Dragon. A couple little other nitpicks here and there, but this episode is, I would just call it an establishing episode. It's not necessarily set up because we've been set up. So also one more little other thing is when I talk about inconsistencies or little plot elements that I noticed that weren't as good as the rest of the show. There's things like Baela being able to see Cole from that high up and that far back from when she does finally get up close. When she finally does get low enough to even possibly see him, but even then at that angle, there's no way. She knew for sure it was Cole, but House of Dragon does that thing, and it does bother me. It doesn't ruin the show for me, but it does bother me. And that's when they do this thing where characters accurately guess. I'm not saying that Rhaenyra, whatever her name is, the older lady, I'm not saying that that her character wouldn't know Otto Hightower like that, but that's an oddly specific guess. But other than that, this episode was okay. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10 problems, or I feel like the editing could have been a little better. I feel like things could have been given just a little more thought. The two main problems I had with the episode being the beginning, skipping over that fight scene or battle scene, not showing how we got from 4-on-4 to an entire land slaughter that's mentioned later in the show as both sides suffered heavy losses. And I feel like there's definitely something that could have been cut out of this episode in order to make room for that. Just give us a fun, entertaining battle scene before you get into more of the dialogue-driven story progression. But as of right now, I can still say that Game of Thrones is probably the best quality television we have going on, at least right now. If you haven't been watching House of Dragon, I'd highly recommend going back, starting from that first episode and pick a week, start from that first episode of the first season, and hopefully by the time you get around to the newest episode, you'll be done with the first season and moved on into the second season. Like I said, pick a time, jump in when you feel comfortable, and I guarantee you it'll be better than anything else that's on television right now. So that's about all I got. I will holler at y'all in the next one.
I said empty your mind, be formless, shapeless, like water.